Welcome to This Explainer. Have you ever stood right on the edge of something genuinely terrifying? Well, today, we're unpacking the deeply relatable human fears wrapped up in the dark fantasy of Leigh Bardugo's Shadow and Bone. We're going to look closely at the incredible world building, the completely terrifying environment, and the universal anxieties that really drive these characters forward. Let's get right into it.
Listen to this incredible hook from our narrator, Alina Starkov. She says, "I'd seen the shadow fold on many maps, a black slash that had severed Ravka from its only coastline and left it landlocked. This isn't just some abstract political war we're dealing with here. It's a physical, geographical wound, literally carved into the earth itself. Ravka is a nation completely severed in two." Section 1. A severed land, charting the path to the fold. To really grasp the scale of this, think about the agonizing route the army is forced to take. It starts far inland at Os Alta, traveling all the way down a wide road called the Vai, eventually landing them at the military encampment at Krybshiksk. Now, Krybshiksk used to be this sleepy little market town, but it's completely morphed into a ramshackle port city, complete with dry docks for sand skiffs. And from there, they have to cross the terrifying fold just to reach West Ravka and the true sea at Oskurvo. It's a massive, brutal journey.
And the way that government handles this perfectly illustrates the crazy cognitive dissonance of the world they live in. They actually try to rebrand this horrific anomaly as the Unsea because, nothing boosts merchant trade quite like putting a terrible PR spin on a literal death trap. But as Alina notes, the reality is just a sinister, dirty smudge on the horizon. This dark/completely ruined the once rich Tula Valley, literally swallowing up farms, families, and entire herds overnight.
Section 2. The Shadowfold Threat. Monsters in the Dark.
Notice the specific phrasing Alina uses here. She calls it a swath of nearly impenetrable darkness that grew with every passing year and crawled with horrors. So the fold isn't just an empty, static wasteland. It's an actively growing environment. It's expanding with every passing year, and it is absolutely infested with horrors that cause massive casualties for anyone who even attempts to cross it. Going in there isn't a commute. It's a terrifying gamble with your life. The absolute biggest threat hiding inside that darkness, the Volcra. The fear of these creatures is so deeply ingrained in our characters. Alina and her best friend Mao remembered this horrifying childhood book illustration from the Duke's library, where they saw a Volcra with its filthy claws and leathery wings. And the kicker? They realized the monster in the picture was actually clutching a severed human foot. Just let that visceral image sink in for a second. Absolutely chilling.
But the most terrifying takeaway about the Volcra is that you can't just hide in the dark. You can't just switch off your lantern and hope for the best. These monsters have evolved to hunt humans perfectly in the pitch black. They are completely blind from spending generations in the dark, but they can smell human blood from miles away. You are essentially the prey the second you step foot in there.
Section 3. The Army and the Grisha. Hierarchy at Krabirsk.
To survive this looming threat, the military camp relies on a very strict, intensely segregated hierarchy. There is a staggering contrast in status within the society. Right at the bottom, you have the everyday cartographers like Alina, Alexei, and Eva, quietly drafting maps in canvas tents. Then, a step up, you have the trackers like Mal, Mikhail, and Dubrov, armed with rifles. But towering above all of them are the Grisha, the elite magic users. It's the ultimate haves and have-nots scenario, totally amplified by magic. While the regular foot soldiers are trudging through freezing mud, the Grisha are arriving in lacquered coaches to stay in a black silk tent the size of a literal cathedral.
And sitting at the very, very top of this societal pyramid is the mysterious Darkling. He doesn't even stop to interact with the regular army. Imagine the awe and the terror as he rushes past everyone else in a massive black coach pulled by 4 black horses, heavily guarded by corporalki, heartrenders, and charcoal coats. He completely represents the ultimate, untouchable elite of this world. But why is the Darkling so feared, even by his own side? Well, we learned through some nervous camp gossip from an assistant named Eva that the Darkling's lineage is directly tied to the fold itself. Eva points out that it was actually a completely mad Darkling who made the Shadowfold to begin with hundreds of years ago. Imagine being conscripted to fight a nightmare, only to realize your Supreme Commander's ancestor is the very person who created it. It adds this incredible layer of deep mistrust to the entire hierarchy.
Section 4. Alina and Mal. Two diverging paths.
Zooming all the way in from the macro world building, we find the micro-emotional core of the story. The contrast between Alina and Mal right now is staggering. Alina is physically scrawny, exhausted, totally sleepless, and dreading the fold to her absolute core. Meanwhile, Mal has this surprising bounce in his step. He's jaunty, confident, an expert tracker, and he's openly flirting with beautiful Grisha girls while looking forward to dinner. Alina is literally shrinking into her fear, while Mal is just expanding effortlessly into his new life.
Yet, despite these really stark physical and emotional differences, they're deeply, deeply bonded. They share this heavy past as lonely orphans at the Duke's estate in Karamzin, raised under the watchful eye of Anakuya. Many of us know exactly what it's like to outgrow a childhood setting, but for Mal, Fia is actively trying to erase his past as an unwanted refugee, while Alina feels completely anchored to it.
There's a moment where Alina thinks, I guess it's easy to have a lot in common when you're kids, and this highlights a beautifully tragic realization for her. She's realizing that their childhood bond, built on shared chores, dodging baths, and just surviving as orphans, might simply not be enough to keep them together as adults. People change, and Mal is changing into someone she barely even recognizes anymore.
Section 5. The Eve of the Crossing. Suspending the Dark.
So, unable to sleep on the cold night before they ship out, Alina steps outside into the freezing air. Surprisingly, Mal actually breaks away from his rowdy tracker friends who are nearby drinking kvass to sit with her quietly on the barrack steps. And in this hushed, incredibly vulnerable moment, the confident veneer finally drops. Mal admits that beneath his cocky exterior, he's actually terrified about tomorrow's crossing too.
Then, we get this incredible, fleeting moment of suspended reality. For a brief second in the circle of lamplight, Mal takes her hand and says, "It's always just you and me, Alina." He tells her they'll be drinking kvass by the ocean tomorrow, just the two of them. His reassurance makes Alina feel, just for a moment, like they are the only two people in the entire world, utterly safe from the darkness.
But of course, the illusion shatters. His friends call out, he drops her hand, and his brash grin slides right back into place as he jogs off. Alina is left sitting alone in the cold with this agonizing thought. While he has become braver and handsomer, they are fundamentally on entirely different paths that are pulling further and further apart. For her, the real fear isn't just death in the fold. It's the fear of becoming complete strangers.
Which leaves us standing on a truly terrifying precipice. As they face literal monsters in the dark tomorrow, Alina's true terror is losing the only family she's ever known. Will they actually survive the darkness of the fold, or are they destined to become strangers to each other? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep exploring, and hey, don't get lost in the dark.